student body to get them to come to school. We've talked about all those various things. We've talked about it, we've discussed it. And so, with that being said, that leads me into that one of the things that I think that this hybrid calendar addresses, and one of the things I think that would work on the hybrid calendar, and I'm going to show you some data just in a few minutes on some schools, on a school that's same size as Nashville, same demographics as Nashville, same socioeconomic, same reduced free lunch students as Nashville within 1%. So they mirror us really, really close. And I can show you some statistics with them after going to a hybrid calendar. And so, but the hybrid calendar we thought would hopefully address attendance. It'd be more time. And then second is this issue, and I've heard from a lot of you, and we're just going to have to agree to disagree, is the subject of teacher burnout and student burnout. And you can say, but folks, since COVID, it's gotten real. It's gotten real. Teacher burnout is a big issue. And I can tell you this, if you would have polled and been around this staff a week before Thanksgiving break, they were about spent. I'm not going to apologize for being concerned for the overall well-being of that staff or students. Mental health with our kids are bigger today than it's ever been. When me and you were in school, we'd never even heard the term. When I was going to school, I'd never heard the term students dealing with mental health. And that's a big, big part of what we deal with daily in K-12. And right or wrong, I mean, that's one of the things that I thought that the hybrid calendar may offer with that. Another thing, and I've been on the traditional calendar for 59 years. 59 years I've been on a traditional calendar. And if that board looks up in the next few days and says, we're going to stay with a traditional calendar, it's not the end of the world to me. This is not something that is life or death for Doug Grant. I'm just trying to find something to get out of the box a little bit and try to grow on and improve on it. So if it's the traditional calendar ends up being what the National School District sticks with, year 60 won't be a whole lot different than the first 59. Year 60 won't be a lot different than the first 59. It's not the end of the world. I'm not going to go home and pout. I'm not going to get upset. I'm not going to whatever. I think it has some things that we need to consider and we need to offer, and you need to be open-minded to it, to see it, because there's some of you that the old Danny Howard trick, don't confuse me with any information. I've already got my mind made up, and that's okay. But make sure it's made up for the right reasons. Make sure it's made up for the right reasons. And I'm the same way. I've told that board. They'll tell you, I'll look them in the eye and eye. If traditional calendar is where we need to be, let's rock it. Let's do it. Let's go. It's not going to be the end of the world for me. So I'm going to let me cover my notes, and and I'm going to run through this little PowerPoint. Hopefully that it will answer some of your questions, and then we'll move on. 3 years ago, the State Department came up and they put out and they published 4 different calendars that you could possibly have by state law. You could have a traditional calendar, and if you look, it's still 1,068 total hours at the bottom. It's 178 school days. It's 30 hours a week, 6 hours in a day. You could go to a 4-day week, a whole lot fewer days, still 7.5 hours per day. and 1,068 hours total. Or you can go to a year-round, or what we're calling a version of, it's a hybrid, it's really not a true year-round, and it's not a traditional, so we're calling it a hybrid, kind of in the middle. It's 178 days, 30 hours, 6 hours, and it's still 1,068 total hours. And then you come up with an alternate calendar, and you fill in how many days you want to go, how many hours per week you want to go, how many hours per day, but at the end of it, it still has to be 1,068 total hours. So that's the choices that the State Department gives you when you're looking at calendar options. Most of you have already seen this. The one on the left mirrors this year's traditional calendar. The one on the right is the hybrid calendar. You've all got, and I think that they've handed those out when you signed in tonight, so you've got the hybrid calendar in front of you. Did I leave my drink? Did I have a drink over there? Did I not bring it in? Can I get a water, please? State requirement on the hybrid calendar says that you can't take any longer than 7 weeks for your summer break. And that's what that calendar you have in front of you represents, a 7-week break. You're not eligible for AMI, but the new commissioner and the new governor has said no calendar is going to be eligible for AMI. You're going to have to make up your snow days. One of the things that would be advantageous to the hybrid calendar, if you miss snow on the calendar we're on right now, in January, if we get hit with 4 or 5 days of snow, we don't have a choice. We're going to have to add them to the end of the year. We got to go 178 days. So there's no AMI, there's no putting it on the computer, there's no Google Classroom, there's no whatever to do to make up those days. If you miss a day, you're going to make it up at the end of the school year, like we used to do it a long time ago, Mr. Horn. We used to make them up and figure out where you could make them up. On the hybrid calendar, if you've got some breaks built in the deal, you can take those days and not go only into June to have to make up those days. You can have some built in, right? State law will not let you do it. You can do it anytime except spring break. State law will not. If you miss 5 days in January, you can't go to school during the 5 days of spring break and make it up. You can any other time. You can go on Saturday, or if you had on the hybrid calendar, you would have some other opportunities to make up those 5 days on snow days. Spring break is protected. The hybrid calendar, it's actually 7 weeks in the summer. This is, those little bullets are from one of the other schools that is on the hybrid calendar. But it's pretty much mirrors ours, a week for a fall break, Thanksgiving break, 2 weeks for Christmas. Ours is exactly 2 weeks. This one says 2.5. Winter break, spring break, long weekends. Still 178 student days and 190. To quote Johnny Wilson today, folks need to understand numbers. I've had several phone calls and I said, why do teachers need more time off? Why do teachers need more time off? Teachers are working 190 days. They're on the contract for 190. And it doesn't matter which calendar. They're going to work 190. 190 is 190. Johnny Wilson said, if anybody gets confused with that, tell them to come back to my math class. 190 is 190. And so it's not 178 student days. There's 365 days in a year. You're just spreading it out and dispersing it differently. But don't act like that we don't understand that the 190-day contract is how many days the teachers are going to work. They're paid for 190. They're not getting a dime more or a dime less. They're working 190 days. It's just spread out differently. And so to those that have called me and said, teachers don't need more breaks, they're still working 190. 190 is 190. Some of the benefits increase student attendance, increase teacher attendance, assist with teacher and student burnout. Learning loss over the summer with a shorter break should improve. And vacation opportunities scattered out throughout the year and not just during June and July when most people take their vacations. And so that's just some of the things that we listed as benefits. Drawbacks: traditional family schedules and things that they've been used to for a while, child care, sports, and of course the no AMI days, which that has changed, and there's no AMI days on either calendar. Child care, let's go back and look, and those that were that it's a little bit different than some of you are prepared or was thinking. The child care, looking at it, and I won't do the number deal, but it's 187 days. You're responsible for your child 187 days if you're not going to be in school. But one thing that's different for those that said, I'm afraid I can't get child care. If it's not built into my 8-week or 10-week summertime, I can't get child care. That's real. That's a legitimate concern. That's a legitimate concern. I can't get child care. One thing that the district is going to do and going to offer, and the board's already committed to it, that we're going to offer, we're not going to call it daycare, we're going to call it enrichment. We're going to have school for, if you as a parent said, I don't have a place to send my second grader, I don't have a babysitter, and I lost it. I could have had them this summer, but I don't get them in October. I need a place to send my second grader. We're going to have school. You can you put them on the bus and send them to school just like you did this morning. We're going to have daycare for anybody that doesn't have daycare. We're going to offer it at school. So that should relieve some of the anxiety over daycare. It's still, when you look at it from this standpoint, it's still 187 days. If we stay on the traditional calendar, you're going to be responsible for daycare for 187 days. Out of 365, you're responsible for 187 days of daycare. If we go hybrid, let's say you don't want to take advantage of the school being open, you're going to be responsible for 187 days. Your days don't increase because we go to a hybrid. It stays the same. 187 days that you're responsible for daycare. But for that family that says, I don't have a grandparent, I don't have a neighbor, I don't have anybody in church that can tend to my kid, I don't know what in the world I'm going to do with my son or daughter, you're going to send them to school. And we're going to have school. I promise you, I've got teachers that would love to make some Christmas money, summer money, vacation money, and they'll be willing to teach in would have been their off week. It would have been their off week. They'll be willing to teach and run the school. I don't envision that I'll have 150 teachers working that day. But if we need 15 or 20 or 30 teachers, whatever it happens to be, we're going to put them to work. And they'll be on the clock and they'll get to make extra money, and it saves the parent money because they're not scrambling for daycare. They're not scrambling for child care. So that end of it ought to make you feel a little bit better on the daycare from a parent that I'm not used to these extra breaks, and it's more subtle than you think. It's not taking breaks all the time. You already get Thanksgiving, you already get Christmas, you already get spring break, you already get winter break. We already took a day off for fall break. We've already got a winter break. So by the time you take all those on the traditional, the added breaks are not near as much as what some people make it out to be. It's more subtle than you think it is. But the bottom line is, it doesn't matter. If you don't have daycare, we're going to provide it at the school. Surely you got confidence to send them to the school, let them eat breakfast, let them eat lunch at the school, let them be with school teachers during the day, let them ride the bus to school, let them ride the bus home. So you can't argue that daycare is a deal breaker for me, and I don't want it. These are the numbers. Hamburg, they're the district I was telling you about. They're 1,800 kids. They're the same demographics as Nashville. They're the same free and reduced lunch as Nashville. They're very similar to us. In the first quarter, the few days of August, September, and October, the first 9 weeks of school, they had 1,016 and a half less absences at school than they did in 22. Comparing 23, the first quarter of 23 to the first quarter of 22, they had 1,000 fewer absences. During the same time, in September, they had a 59 increase. The actual number was in September of 22, they had 446 teacher absences in September alone. This year they had 262. That's a 59% increase in teacher attendance for September. In October of 22, they had 506 absences compared to 334 this year. That's a 66% increase. And my whole mantra, my whole deal all along has been, if you put students in the seat with a teacher in the front of the room teaching, with no sub, not that many subs, the learning has to be better. Who wins? Your babies. Who wins? If they're sitting in the room, if my teachers are missing that much, and there's a sub up there, who loses? Your babies. Connect the dots. See who the winners and losers of this is. But if I can put the students in the seats and the teachers in the front of the room teaching, it's got to be a win-win for those doggone kids. We've got to learn more. As a parent, as a superintendent, it breaks my heart to see those 15 to 25 kids show up in that class and have to put a substitute teacher in there. It breaks my heart. So if I can cut that number in half, it's got to be a win-win. It's got to be a win-win. Hamburg sent out a second survey last week into the first semester, basically. We're at Christmas time, we're at the end of the first semester. This is the first year they've been on a hybrid schedule. Their hybrid calendar almost mirrors ours. Just a little difference here and there. They sent out the second survey last week. Miss Streeter, and I started to make her do a FaceTime and do it on the video board today to do it. But her deal was the faculty, our patrons, not one person is raising his hand about let's go back to traditional. Not go back to traditional. I talked to Wynn, Arkansas today. They're on their third year of it. And I said, but I understand you think it's working. We don't have enough data to really know academically. They went through a tornado and they didn't even have absentee stuff because they've been trying to build a building. They didn't even have attendance things. But Wynn, Marion, Hamburg, I talked to today. Not one of them, they're either in the first year or at the most the fourth year of a hybrid calendar. Marion's full-blood year-round. They're the full year-round school. Not one of them is sitting here saying we're studying going back to a traditional calendar. So it's working to some degree in places. It's not something that's just a train wreck. It's not a train wreck everywhere it's offered. It's something that's working. These people aren't going back. Some of you have read the little OEP report that came out of the University of Arkansas, and it didn't speak real high of year-round schools. At the time, there was only six. They were all up and down the Mississippi River, and very low socioeconomic school districts, their test scores wasn't over the top. They weren't great, but there was only 6. Now it's increasing and increasing and increasing each year that people are trying to do something just a little bit different and doing it. But my point is, I can't promise this. I don't have the data, but I'll be interested in the next 2 or 3 years how many of these people that have gone hybrid, year-round, call it what you want to. They're not going back to traditional. They're not going back. One of the things, and I'll tell you, this board holds me more accountable than I've ever been held in my 19 years as superintendent. They hold me more accountable for student achievement and test scores than I ever have been. I told the group that I met with last Wednesday, we're high-centered. Our test scores are stagnant. It's 3 steps forward and 2 steps back. Next year it's 2 steps forward and 3 steps back. Are they embarrassingly low? No. No, we're a C. It was published in last week. It went out statewide last week. Nashville High School's a C. Nashville Junior High's a C. Nashville Primary is a C. We're a C school. Elementary was a B. They were a C last year. They were our lowest C last year. They're a B this year. So, but it's 3 steps forward and 2 steps back. Our test scores have been stagnant. All I've said is let's try to do something to get off high center. And if putting the kids in the classroom and putting a certified teacher in the classroom with them and fewer substitute teachers and fewer student absences, it may be worth a shot. We're not asking you to marry it. We're not asking you, this is not for life. If it doesn't work, we talked about earlier tonight, if it doesn't work, we can be that school that breaks the mold and go back next year to traditional. We're not asking you to do it for the rest of your life. We're not asking you for a 5-year commitment. If it doesn't work, we can go back. And just a talking point, and just a talking point. But that Hamburg stuff, folks, is real. When you can cut down 1,000 absences in 9 weeks, that's not a year. That's just 9 weeks of school. 1,000 absences. And you can put those kids in the seat learning. Tell me that there's more learning not going to take place. There's no way it doesn't help. There's no way. And if you tell me that you're going to improve teacher attendance 66%, there's no way that doesn't help. And there's no way that doesn't help your babies. That doesn't help your kids that come in the Nashville School District. There's no way that doesn't help. Traditional requirements, y'all know that 178 days, 6 hours a day. Longer summer break, still get Thanksgiving, still get Christmas, still get spring break. We know the gist of a traditional calendar. Some of us have been on it for 59 years. Some of the benefits, you already got some breaks built in. You have less interruptions or extracurricular activities. One of the main things, for those of you that are following it statewide, if we take a break in October, I've got coaches that aren't going to get that week off. They're going to still work. They're going to still be asked to go play a football game on Friday night without being in school all week. That's, you can ask Michael Larvich, he hated to be playing on Thanksgiving because it was, kids aren't in school, it's hard to follow them, it's hard to get them to practice, it's hard or whatever. So it's not a perfect world. It's not a perfect world. But if I had to make a choice in getting off high center and raising test scores or making it best for the coach and his football team, it's time to get off high center. Improve our test scores. Traditionals accepted in the community. Some of the drawbacks, even though you can find research for anything you wanted to say. And when I talked to Hamburg today, and I talked to Gwen today, and I talked to Marion today, let's talk research. And the common theme among all of them is for every piece of research that says hybrid calendars are great. You can find every piece of research that says hybrid calendars are awful. You can go in and you just Google the benefits of year-round school. Now, I do like the articles from ASCD, but you just Google, go home tonight, and a lot of you already have, just Google benefits of year-round school. There will be 150 articles and research deals that will come up immediately. 150, you can read for a week. Some of them are very pro year-round school, and some of them are very anti-pro year-round school. I asked them, I said, so when y'all did your community meeting, you didn't put some study on the board and some deal that acted like that this is the reason we need to go to year-round school? They said, Mr. Graham, don't do it. Because for every article you can find pro year-round school, they'll find an article that says don't do year-round school. Said it's all over the board. Don't do it. And that's true. That's true. A lot of y'all know that. And so, high absenteeism due to, and what that's reference is, we have a population, every Christmas break, they go to Mexico. They go to Mexico. Well, if there's more times during the year to go to Mexico, it's easier to get them back, and especially, they say that's the reason some of them have gone to 2.5-week Christmases breaks instead of just 2, because it gives an extra 2 or 3 days of travel for the parents that go back home, that go to their home and travel out of the country. This is what I've hung my hat on when I've tried to sell: taking care of the teachers, taking care of the kids, a rested and eager staff, and a rested and eager student body has to be a positive. Point blank, it has to be a positive. Can't deny, I would love to sit here and tell you, as your superintendent, that our test scores are #1 in the state. I'd like to tell you, our test scores are out the top. But I can't do that. We're a C. We're average at best. We're a C. Let me tell you a little bit about what a C means. This year it doesn't hurt you. This year it doesn't hurt you as much. Because when it comes to homeschool and private schools, if you're a D and a F school, those people get more money per student. In 2 years, C's drop into that category. So you really need to be an A or a B to protect your monetary interest at that point in time. In 2 years, C's are going to be treated no different than a D or an F school. And right now, we're a C. I'm ready to get off high center and get the test scores up so we can be a B, so that we don't have to lose out from the money aspect of it for any kid that wants, any student, any family that wants to go homeschool or private school. And that's going to be a reality for this community. That's a reality. But I just soon make it a lesser burden than a bigger burden for us financially. And by being a B, that's important compared to being a C. We've already discussed that we're making this from a year-to-year deal. We've already talked about what the definition, what a hybrid calendar does. There's no need me reading that word for word to you. You know, it's a shorter summer break than a traditional calendar with longer, more frequent breaks. Still 178 days. 178 to 178, according to Mr. Wilson. On a hybrid calendar, and where I saw, and I was reading the OEP report out of the University of Arkansas, they said that there's some indication, it's not concrete, there's some indication that the socioeconomic lower group benefits from having more breaks and being fresh or whatever. But it does say this: any school that chooses to have these, to teach school when you're off, to have these enrichment programs while you're off, to offer remediation in school on those weeks or 3 days that you're off, those students definitely see an increase in their academic performance. For the schools that can financially do it and afford to do it, and to be able to offer that on their days off, there's definitely signs that they score better. Let me scan my notes and see if there's any thought that I had written me a bullet down here that I wanted to cover. Don't ever confuse that I said that a hybrid or year-round calendar or some version of that is a cure-all. It won't fix. I get hit up, I get phone calls, I read it on Facebook, that how does that help bullying? I don't know that it helps bullying one bit. I don't know that it helps bullying one bit. Maybe coming to school in a better frame of mind and more rested may keep doing it, but I can't say that it helps bullying. How does it raise math scores? I don't have any data that says it's going to raise math scores. I have common sense that tells me if I put a rested faculty and a rested student body in the same room teaching and working more days, we've got a shot to improve math scores. We've got a shot. I'm not saying that it's a done deal and it's a no-brainer. I'm not saying that. I am saying this. If you keep doing what you've always done, you don't need to expect a whole lot of different results. I've seen what 25 years of what we're currently doing. Our test scores didn't get stagnant with Doug Brown and Joe Kell. Our test scores are no different than they were with Danny Howard and Katie Weshy. They've been stagnant for over 25 years. Not a nickel's worth of difference in them. Not a nickel's worth of difference. I'd like to tell you, before I walk out these doors, that I did something to help improve it. Is the hybrid calendar answer? I don't know, but I'm searching. I'm searching. But I'm not content just to keep doing the status quo and getting the same results. I don't think that board's ready to tell me, Mr. Remmer, worry about them test scores. Next year when we get ready to review your contract, we're not even going to bring up test scores. I don't think that's coming out of their mouth. So I got to be trying something. I got to be doing something. Is it a perfect world with a hybrid calendar? No, it's not. We fix one thing a little bit on offering school when you don't have a babysitter. When you don't have daycare and offering school, we fix that one a little bit. I can't fix every aspect of every question. Don't tell me that my kid is going to go to the fair for 3 weeks. They go to the fair for 3 weeks now, on the traditional calendar. We go to the county and the regional and the state fair now. That doesn't have anything to do with hybrid calendar. Don't tell me that you don't want teachers to get a break. They're going to work 190 days. Out of the next 365, they're going to work 190. I'm just changing up the dates a little bit. Subtle changes. It's not as drastic as what some people want you to think. It's not as drastic as what you want to think. I'll open it up. If about a minute or less per person invited to come to this microphone, address the board, address me, say what's on your mind. About a minute. We don't have long. We've been here a long time already. You've already taken time to come to this meeting, and I certainly appreciate it. But if you want to come to the mic, address us, we'll do that at this time. Why you do that? If something comes back to mind and and I have left something off of my speech that I didn't on Wednesday or whatever it happens to be, then I'll jump back in. So, first of all, and we'll limit it to 4 or 5, but I know some of you got something to say, so get up to the mic and let us have it. Please identify who you are before you start this.
Shelby Taylor.
Is that wrong?
Yeah, kind of speak right into it.
Shelby Taylor.
Gotcha.
So he said that we have snow days, we're gonna take them back in June. Well, I got a problem with that, because most church camps start right in June, first week. So what would you do about a kid missing the whole week?
All right, here's my first answer. We go to the end of May this year on the traditional calendar. They're not letting us have any AMI days this year. So if we have 5 snow days this January, we've got to make them up, okay? On the traditional calendar. I'm saying at least on the hybrid calendar, we have a shot to make them up on some of those months where we've got a few days off, where we can go to we can make those days up before it gets to June in church camp. You're in worse shape trying to make them up on a traditional calendar than you are on the hybrid calendar. Does that make a little sense? Okay. Thank you. Well, I can't believe it's you.
I'm sure all y'all know who I am. I have a question. I didn't ask Wednesday.
Okay.
So, you mentioned about having the teachers come in that volunteer to work and you would pay them, so they would work more than their 190.
Correct.
And then you would bus them.
That's correct.
Okay, so how is that gonna cost the district to have more buses and then teachers getting more pay for that? I mean, how's that gonna affect the school district financially?
Well, it's gonna be a hit. It's gonna be a hit, I'm not gonna deny that. But, I'll say this. This group, and we've never denied spending money if we're educating kids. If that means running a bus during summer school, if that means running a bus for after-school tutoring, if that means whatever. We've never not been willing to spend an extra bit of money when it comes to having school. If you were telling me it was gonna cost the same $40,000 to do something in athletics, I think you got it right. And I think that board would raise an eyebrow. But I think that if you're telling me that we're gonna spend an extra 40, and I'm just bringing that number out of there, I don't know exactly what it'd be, but we're gonna spend an extra $40,000 to educate kids on days off because the parents don't have anywhere to put them, I think we spend it with a smile on our face. I have zero problem.
There's gonna be more kids probably show up than maybe y'all anticipate.
Maybe. We're gonna be prepared. We're gonna be prepared for the big number at first until we get a feel. Yes, ma'am.
Bernice Vargas here. I just got a quick question. I understood that you said that through 2nd grade, when they have no week off and stuff like that, they're able to come to school. Will the ABC follow that same schedule?
I do not know that answer. They're not under our jurisdiction, so they'll get to make that decision. I'll know a little bit more Thursday, because we go to an ABC meeting on Thursday. I'll know a little bit more about that Thursday. A, are they gonna mirror our calendar? And B, would they be open to the same things that we're open to? If I control their purse strings, I would tell you yes, but I don't get to control their purse strings, so I'll have to wait and find that out. I'm sorry I did not have that answer tonight. Yes, ma'am.
My family is wondering, what are they gonna do during the enrichment program, and what's the cost for the enrichment program that us, the taxpayers, will have to pay?
The enrichment program is not laid out right now. I couldn't tell you exactly. I didn't need to see who's coming and what grade levels and what, and do we have students that are behind in math, or they're behind in language arts, or are they excelling and we just need something on the top end? All of it's open. Tonight, and this is, I don't want this to sound tacky. But tonight, they have an operating balance of over $7 million. They're gonna take some of that $7 million and finance this enrichment program. It's not gonna cost you anything out of your pocket, but I'm just telling you that we're gonna make it a priority to make it happen.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, ma'am.
Leah with Mom. I've got a few questions. Teacher burnout was a big thing that we're talking about as far as doing this. Have you implemented anything in the classroom to help with that burnout prior to doing this calendar thing?
I'm gonna say no. Example?
So like in nursing, burnout normally goes to like patient to nurse ratio. That's what causes burnout. Management causes burnout. Your caseload, your workload, that causes burnout. So I'm just that's kind of apples to oranges, but are y'all looking into what is causing that burnout in these teachers?
I mentioned COVID being big, and the LEARNS Act is big. These teachers have had a lot thrown on them during this last year, mandated from a statewide level. They never get to catch their breath, and that's the cause of some of it. If making another change or two like you're suggesting, maybe, it may be worth considering.
I know about COVID, so I get the burnout regarding that. Another question I had was, you showed some stats from Hamburg about their absentees. Do you have any with their test scores that were improved?
Yeah, ma'am, they just started, we hadn't tested yet. They just started in August, or they started the year-round school in August, so they won't test until April.
Okay, so those were just from August to now, the absentees.
First 9 weeks, compared to 22.
Okay, does that take into consideration the days that you're not in class?
No.
Because if you're having a break, you see what I'm saying?
Right, but they started already, so it's still.
So the same thing. Okay.
Same attendance days.
Okay. Okay, last question, sorry. Teacher burnout was the main thing, so how do you already have teachers?
Absenteeism was probably one, burnout two, but I'll take them one and one.
Okay, so, do you already have teachers that are wanting to do this enrichment program?
I have not told them to see. I'm gonna tell you that between teachers are always, we've never had any problems getting teachers that would like to, until the $50,000, I don't know, I haven't had to address it since we all went to $50,000, but teachers have always been willing to try to pick up some extra change. And they've never not taken an opportunity to try to earn some Christmas money, vacation money, whatever it happens to be. And I think that you'll have plenty of teachers that will say, gosh, I've got a kid in college, I'd love to pick up an extra $3,000 or $4,000 in an enrichment program to help put my child through college or whatever it has to be. I won't know until I live it. I can tell you this, we have a lot of teacher aides and classified people. I'm embarrassed, but I don't know how, but I'm just saying that they will certainly be willing to jump on and support people because they need the extra salary. No more than we pay them as an aide in this school district. They're always looking at ways to pick up some more money. They're always looking for ways. And to do that, I see zero problem with the support people in this program. Yes, sir. let me just, what he's talking about is the heat in the summertime. I do think one of the things that has to be addressed, and we addressed this earlier, and I didn't see it through because I didn't really see this coming. One of the things that I've talked about within a very small circle, we talked about, we got 6 buses we put under roof now. We talked about a deal where we put like 12 more buses under roof, and that was gonna be a cost of like $300,000. But I think that if you start dealing with a lot of summertime, we still transport them in the summer for summer school. But and you're only talking between a hybrid and a traditional calendar, you're only talking a couple of weeks. So, but if there's a need, that'll be more reason to spend some money and to build a shed and to keep those buses down 8 or 10 degrees cooler than what they would be if they're just sitting out there in that hot sunshine. Good point, I don't deny anything. It's a concern that you just mentioned as much as anything that anybody has brought up.
And what about the sports? I mean, are we gonna be paying our sports? Got basketball, we got football.
But sir, they, right now, those sports work almost year round now. I mean, you try to play football for the scratchers, you're gonna find out it's a 12-month job. Basketball, the whole deal, they work around the clock. So that part is not gonna be a major change. And every bus we're buying now has been air conditioned. All right, I got time for one more. Somebody wants to address? Come on, you've been wanting to get up all the time. Come on. Oh,
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Laura Couch. So I just have a quick question. So you mentioned, well, what you just said is, teacher burnout. So I think it would be a great idea to look at ways to help with that burnout, but also I think holding kids accountable. So are you guys holding parents accountable, and are you holding teachers accountable for their absenteeism as well? As a manager, I just look at that.
All right, holding parents accountable, we probably sent more to court under Judge Cheshire for excessive absenteeism than in the, I mean, that is something we deal with every Wednesday in court. So that is being addressed. And, but I think my principal will tell you, it's still not a cure-all.
And what about teachers? Are they held accountable? Like for me, I have so many days I have to work.
And well, it's just a matter of fact, they get X number of days, that's part of their perk, that's part of their benefit package, and so, as long as they're within their days, they don't get docked. When they run out of days, it costs them an average daily rate of pay, it's close to $300 a day if they miss it above when it's out of their benefit package, so.
Because of that burnout, they're still missing to get docked.
Yes, ma'am. And one of the things, and I complimented the board tonight on a deal where we put in a deal that's increased, we pay for, at the end of the year, and when you have so many sick days built up in your sick bank, the school district pays you for them. Let me finish. This past year, you got $27 for every day you had left over. I had teachers telling me, that didn't keep me from staying at home. When I needed a day off because of burnout, I didn't take the $27. Which makes sense. The board in August passed it, we changed that to $75. This year, they'll get $75 for every day over that amount that's left in their sick leave bank. Trying to get them to say, I don't feel like going, but I'm better half speed than a sub, and I don't want to lose my $75. So we've taken that proactive deal already.
I'm open-minded to it, but I just have those questions.
You're okay.
Good question.
Good question. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm Sarah Cheshire. I work here at UA Costatot. I don't really have a question, but I would like to just address some concerns I have on behalf of the college. So, we have the Secondary Career Center, which is our welding, industrial maintenance, automotive diesel, those types of programs where students can kind of get a jump start on their career path for free. And then we also have concurrent courses where students can take psychology, comp, college algebra as a college student for free. So we offer both pathways. For statistics, we have 51 students from Nashville School District in our secondary career centers, and additional 28 students taking concurrent classes online. or at the schools. We service 12 school districts, so we cannot be in our calendar for just one school district. So I worry about Nashville students competing with both schedules because we follow the traditional schedule. For our schools such as Nashville, Kirby, Derrick, that are 4 days a week, we require them to come to class to us on their day off because they have to come on our schedule. So I'm concerned that by the students having to compete with two different schedules, we're increasing the days that they have to come to class because they still have to come that off week in October or so forth. And then therefore, I'm concerned that they will choose to not take those college classes because they want to be off in the week in October. And that's one of our main points of recruitment is to matriculate students in from secondary to post-secondary. So that's a very big concern of mine as a chair of the college.
No.
Just wanted to tell them. Not bad for everybody.
No. And so this is not a good analogy at all. But it's gonna be just like that kid that plays football, that all his buddies are off in October, and I gotta go to practice every day, I'm not off. Well, he chooses not to be a scrappy football player because I won't be off. You're facing the same thing. Are they gonna maybe not take one of the courses because they don't wanna compete at the same time? Folks, have you talked? Look, her. Last one.
I've got a couple of things, the lady before kind of touched on it. I was gonna ask about what are your main things with teachers attendance? And I was gonna ask, because at my job, I miss so many days, I get wrote up, and after so many write-ups, I'm terminated. So I didn't know if there was some kind of.
They lose their paycheck. They lose their paycheck.
And then we have some families have split families, where the kids go and stay with another parent during the summertime.
Okay?
And they may not live in this area.
Okay?
So that's really gonna mess them up.
Let me stop you right there. One thing, and I'm not an authority on this, because that touched me when that got brought up to me 10 days ago. Kids that have parents, and some of them get them this part of the summer, some of them get the next part of the summer. I've met with Judge Cooper, and he's assured me that he's gonna get it worked out, and it's not gonna be an issue. Mr. Cheshire called me 30 minutes before I walked in this meeting, Brian Cheshire, and he says that according to Judge Cooper, and that's Brian Cheshire and Judge Cooper, they said, we can't tell you that it's gonna be perfect. We're gonna tell you from our end of it, we're gonna work to make it work the best it can. Now, if there's a judge in California and one in Arkansas, and I can't claim that I know exactly what's gonna happen on that particular thing. But both of you are gonna get them during the summer. Each parent, they're gonna get them different times during the summer. So we think we can make that work as best as we can. And if it's not, that's just, I mean, it's not a pretty deal for parents that are split. It's not pretty. It's not. Maybe that's the word I'm looking for. It's not easy. I wouldn't argue with you one bit.
And the only other thing I had was, if this is so new, why not wait a year or two and see how it goes? And you get test scores and things like that.
That's a viable point. It's not as new in Arkansas. Other states, other people have been doing it lots longer than us. But that is something that it's relatively new in Arkansas. And so we don't have the Arkansas data and the Arkansas test to show it. And I'll tell you this, we've been on the Aspire test for the last 7 or 8 years, and what we earned this seal in March, in April. We're gonna test, it's gonna be something totally different. So how many years does it take to normal reference that test? Is that another 3 or 4 years on that? So I don't know.
A lot of the things that y'all put out is you wanna go by test scores.
I get you.
Thank you.
Valid point. All right, folks, you have my email address.